to Charmed Life, a radio show discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I am your host, Tricia Carr. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's going to be a fun show. I was singing my face off on the way here. You want to hear it, Jarvis? He really wants to hear it. And that's what I do to get myself all warmed up, get my voice warmed up, and to raise my vibration. And so I just thought I'd share that with y'all. Sometimes if you're feeling like your thoughts are just in that negative place, you're not feeling great, you can't seem to get yourself out of a rut of a feeling or thinking habit. If you like singing, go sing your face off and just relax into that and just express yourself and enjoy it. And that really works, and it just raises your spirits, it raises your vibration, and that's actually really the key to starting to see in your life the things that you want to see is starting to retrain your brain, train your brain to expect to feel good all the time, because we have this bad habit that we created from when we were very young, when we thought that things were unsafe, and I mean very young, and we thought things were unsafe, so I need to pay attention to what all the dangers are. That's what that young mind, that lower mind, trained us into believing. It gave us this habit of it. So we now are aware of things aren't as dangerous, right? We don't even have to fight and struggle for our food. I mean, we don't have to wrestle lions for them, at least. So, we can work on those thinking habits and those feeling habits. And that's actually a big part of my topic today, about how to be a successful empath and or highly sensitive person. It's a big deal for us. Take a sip of water, pardon me. Before I get into that, just a formal hello to Jarvis, my producer. Hi, Jarvis Essex. And we are broadcasting live from the Universal Broadcasting Network studios in Hollywood, California, in the Sunset Gowers building. Really cool spot. I'm really fortunate, and I just have to take a moment to celebrate and thank Tony Sweet, who is the proprietor of UBN, and he has some shows on Friday, really cool shows about all kinds of paranormal stuff and spiritual stuff. So I bet you a lot of y'all will appreciate that. You just go to ubnradio.com, and if you are watching this show on Periscope or Facebook, you could also watch it on ubnradio.com. We're on channel 1 there. And so if you're watching it on UBN, then you can watch it on Facebook. And I would love to tell you about a new Facebook group that I've started. It's called Charmed Life, because I'm actually broadcasting this in the group. But you can find it by looking for the domain. Let's see, it's facebook.com/charmedlifelove. Is that it? Is that right, Jarvis? Like, I don't know. It's your group. But what I'm doing is focusing. I mean, this is actually being broadcast there, so you're going to be able to find this show there every week, and you can find the replays there. You could also find the archives and replays on podcast outlets and my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Tricia Carr. And if you join the group, I'm also doing special content and teaching, like doing live sessions, how we do Facebook Live. And I'm talking about how to be a very successful spiritual entrepreneur. So someone who is in the wellness or spirituality space as a professional, or if this is your passion and you want to turn it into your profession, I'm doing some special teaching and support there, because this is something that's really important to me. And again, that is the reason that I chose this topic today, because I really have on my heart all of the empaths, highly sensitive people, all very empathic, creative, highly sensitive, and deeply compassionate people, because obviously I'm one of those people. And so I understand the transformation that we go through in life, meaning that, we have that mindset that we seem to just find ourselves with when we become adults, where everything is fearful and we're so sensitive that we don't see how we could possibly become powerful also, because we feel like we're absorbing. And I'm going to break that down for you guys. So very compassionate and sensitive people, we need you. We need your work. We need the work that you feel in your heart. We need it to be expressed. And we need you to take those feelings of compassion and make them into active healing activities. So, but that seems to be very challenging, coming from that place of victimhood and you don't want to be a victim, and you recognize that being a victim is something that is inhibiting you from being your full expression, but you don't know how to get out of it. And I know that so many of us are sometimes having, either we're struggling with the work that we have because it makes us feel really uncomfortable, or it's just not serving us completely. And so being able to do something that expresses our creativity and that natural compassion and healing nature and helping others, that is something I want to support everyone in. And to that point, I actually have a mentoring program that I'm just started, and I'm very excited about it. It's been a little while in the making, and I'm released it now. So if you're interested in finding out about my mentoring program, I'm coaching and mentoring people to be able to either start a spiritual entrepreneurship or to build and commit to it 100%. Because many of my friends and everyone that I meet on Facebook and through this show, they are, they're like, I know I'm an intuitive and it happens to me sometimes, but I don't know how to make it a profitable business. I don't know how to make it my lifestyle. And it is meant to be your lifestyle. And by the way, whatever lights you up from the core of your being, whatever sparks up your heart, that is meant to be your lifestyle. And we are meant to be abundant in every way. And I mean in freedom as well, not just about cash, but cash is good and we're meant to have that as well. But I mean freedom, and the freedom to express ourselves, and the freedom to just feel joy all the time. And so, I guess that brings me to my subject today, because I was given some insight from this Ascended Master that I'm working with. Did I mention him, Jarvis, that I woke up I think I just mentioned it to you off air a couple of weeks ago. I just woke up in the morning and I heard in my head, it was funny. It was like a man speaking just very plainly, and it was like, Serapis Bay. And it was very matter of fact. And I was like, what's that now? And I just heard, Serapis Bay. I just heard it like, I was replaying a recording in my mind, and I was like, I couldn't remember. This is actually the name of an Ascended Master. But I didn't remember that. I didn't remember what those syllables meant, why I knew those syllables, And so I was waking up, and then I went into the living room to where my husband was already awake, and I said, what does the word Serapis Bay mean? And he's like, what? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, well, I was like feeding the cats or something, and I was like, can you look it up? Because he's sitting at the computer. He's like, how do you spell it? I'm like, I don't know the way it sounds. It sounds Latin or something. Serapisbay, I think. and I'm just gonna say it because it's cracking up, Jarvis. Serapis Bay. Just very matter of fact. It's not spooky at all. Not even like, ooh, blissful, like the heavens opened up. It's just very matter of fact. And so Brian, my husband, was like, oh, it's apparently an Ascended Master, and he works with people he's helping with the ascension process. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went and looked it up later and realized that he is an Ascended Master, who's basically like taking the role of a spirit guide with me to coach me and counsel me on some certain things. And so I finally sat down with Serapis Bay, and he gave me a lot of information actually about this particular subject, how we sensitive people, highly sensitive or empaths, or however your empathic nature expresses itself, and what is going on with that. Why does it feel like it is a burden? Why does it feel like we are victims, and we are a victim of the environments that we're in, the emotional and even physical environments? And so he explained to me a little bit more about what happens and how to, if you understand, if you could see the dirt, then you could clean the house. So this is coming from Serapis Bay. All right, cool. So now let's talk about that a little bit. And I will be taking calls. I'm probably going to chat for a little bit, so you're welcome to call in now, but I might have you on hold a little bit because I need to talk to you about what Serapis Bay had to say about how you could be a successful empath or highly sensitive person. And the number is 323-524-2599. Phone lines are open now, but like I say, you might be hanging out a little bit, but you can listen to the show while you're on hold. So feel free to call in. Okay, so how to be a successful empath or highly sensitive person or creative, whatever that is, compassionate, deeply compassionate person who wants to serve, but it feels blocked, this is a word we like to use, blocked to abundance and success. And the empathic nature is turned in on itself. And I just want to let you know, first of all, that, we do create our own reality. So the world is not a dangerous place. So as you're trying to understand your empathic nature and to be comfortable in your own skin and your own being and your own emotional body, just know that you do have control. That it isn't that the world is threatening. You aren't a victim. You aren't going out into the world and you can't but help but to absorb everybody's emotions and to be affected by the environment, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental. That isn't the way that it is, that you're just so sensitive that you're fragile. You are so sensitive that you're actually extremely strong. Those are abilities. But like I say, they have turned in on themselves. They've turned inside out. So how do we let our empathic nature block abundance? And the abundance is everything. Everything that is good in life. Yes, go ahead and think about it like finances. And you're welcome to think about it like finances, because finances are this thing that are like the key. It's just this symbol. It's this key to freedom. If you had an abundance of cash, then you would have the freedom to spend your time as you wished. And that's, the outcome as well. So time, and also you would have the freedom to do what you want to do. You'd have the freedom to do nothing, and you'd have the freedom to do something. You could, if you love acting, but you're like, well, I don't know if that's my profession. I don't have the money to pursue it, whatever. And you just need to do it, or you just need to sing. If you had abundance in all areas, you could spend your time doing that creative outlet, whatever it is. You could buy all of the paints and the canvases and spend a day just painting your hearts out and letting out all of that voice that's inside you. So that also comes to, I have tons of colleagues and friends and everything, and people here online that I connect with who are intuitives, and they have psychic and intuitive and healing abilities, and they experience these things, but they don't know how to make them regular, and they may be very successful, or at least maybe not very successful, but they've accomplished some kind of great career or job, and they're really good at it. And they're like, well, I appreciate that, but there's actually a cap there, number one. And number two, I don't have the freedom because it's not me expressing the fullness of my being. It's me doing something that I can do, and I've become really good at doing this thing, but it isn't the thing that lights me up. It isn't the thing that feels like it is connected to my purpose, and it isn't me expressing deep passion. Fullness of passion. All right, so first, just touching upon what the difference is, just these two expressions of either being an empath or a highly sensitive person. And you may identify some of this or you may identify a few qualities here. I'll tell you, the labels aren't important, but I get asked it all the time. And so that's why I talk about it periodically, because people want to know. And the only reason this is good, what we're actually doing when we look at these different labels and these kind of functions that fall under these headings, we're actually looking at how the empathic nature has turned inside out. And the reason it's good to identify it isn't so that we can identify with it, but so that even as we heal and become very powerful and strong and more masters of the empathic nature, so that it is an ability and a strength, there's still onions to peel. We are still onions to peel. And at some point, if you know that you have a certain tendency that this function looks like this, then you might recognize it down the line. You're like, oh, okay, here's a new layer of that empathic nature to heal. So this is the reason. I want you to look at this, and I don't want you to take this and say, oh no, this is me. I've been diagnosed, and now I'm sick forever, and all I can do is just put up my shield. No, okay, no. This is just identifying how the wheel is turned the wrong way so we can spin it the correct way. Like quite literally, because I'm going to talk about the chakras here in a minute. All right, so empath. An empath is a person who feels other people's emotions and actually thinks other people's thoughts as though they are their own. And I will explain that in more detail by contrasting it to highly sensitive person is someone who is very sensitive to the environment and to moods and to energies, as well as having a hypersensitive physical body, nervous system. And so often empaths are highly sensitive people, but it's not something that I want you to take either one of those definitions and wear it like a badge, or to take on the martyrship position either and say, well, that's my deal. Oh, and I'm an empath, and so that's my fate. Or, well, I'm an empath, so I know everything about everything. Okay, these are the two pitfalls I see when we're first uncovering this about ourselves. I want you to move quickly past that to the empowered state as quickly as you can. It's okay if you take a moment to pause there, but just I'm telling you this so you can recognize that and move past it. So it's good to recognize, it's not like empath is good or bad or highly sensitive person is good or bad. And so it's good to recognize where you fall in that, again, so that you can understand how your nature has gone wrong. Because a highly sensitive person would be out there in the world, and they walk into a room and they sense that something has gone down, and they can feel that there's bad juju in this room, and I don't like the way this room it feels. It's like you're absorbing something into your skin almost, and maybe literally. An empath walks into a room and feels bad, and is like, I'm effing pissed, and I don't know why. And maybe you find a reason why, actually, but you recognize later, like, my mood just shifted, and I got depressed. So an empath, just like the thoughts and emotions just become your own, and you can't tell that they're not yours. And not understanding that that's what you're doing will cause two things to happen. And this is for highly sensitive people as well. We project. So if you don't understand that you are picking up someone else's stuff, or that you're shifting, like with a highly sensitive person, you're shifting your mood to match the environment rather than holding your vibration, your higher vibration, then you will start to identify with it, and then it becomes yours. Then you are depressed because you found a reason. You found a reason to support that belief. Because that's all it is. A belief is a thought that you keep thinking. So if you stay in that area, if you stay in that feeling space, then you will find a reason. You will, if it's because your best friend has had a breakup, and you are absorbing that, you're either absorbing that emotion as a highly sensitive person, or you are just feeling it. It just suddenly shows up in your feeling space. You'll find a reason that there's something wrong with your relationship. If you stay there and you don't recognize that you just allowed, and above all, we are in charge of our thoughts and our emotions. Now, we have habits that make it difficult. Just like if you have a habit of sitting on the couch, it makes it difficult to go run 2 miles, but you are in charge of getting yourself up off the couch and running 2 miles. And just it's little by little, and then you become really good at it. Your feeling and thinking functions are exactly the same as your physical functions. I mean, they're not just metaphors, they work the same. We are a mind, body, spirit complex, and you can take any understanding you have of the physical body, physical nature, and then just pop it on to the feeling and thinking. It's just that the feeling and thinking is a little more subtle. It's not as, we can look at your body and say, okay, now the reason I have a spare tire is because of my activity and my diet. So, you know what I mean? Like it becomes obvious. Now, it's a gradual, it's not like the spare tire shows up overnight. So there's sort of some subtle building there too. With the thinking and the feeling, though, you are just as much in charge of that. Right now, in this moment, whatever you're thinking and feeling, I want you to just do this exercise with me. You're probably feeling pretty decent if you're listening to my show right now. If you're listening to me, you feel good. No, but I want to do this exercise with you to show you how you can change your thoughts and emotions at any point. It is absolutely at your will to control it. So, ready? We're going to do it. Think about a kitten. Oh, a kitten. If you don't like kittens, think about a puppy. If you don't like puppies, think about your child. Whatever. If you don't like puppies and kittens, though, you have no soul. And get off of my show. No kidding. But see, you can do that and literally take that example. If you're feeling, like I said at the top of the show, you're feeling a little off, sing. If you're feeling a little off, think of a kitten. Think of someone or something that you love. It's something that's easy to think about, something that's easy to feel about, and it will shift your vibration. It shifts your frequency, because your frequency is composed of your emotions and your feelings. That's actually the radio signal that you're sending out, is your feeling state. So you can just change that. Excuse me, I had a tickle in my throat. So you could just change that at any time by thinking about kittens. That's my, I'm telling you my secret. That is my answer to everything is kittens. Well, anyway, so that's the deal with the empath and the HSP thing. The second thing I was saying, there are two things that happen. The first one being that you actually identify, if you stay there for too long, you identify with it and it becomes you. And now it doesn't matter it never did really matter where it came from. It doesn't matter that it came from outside because now it's yours because you have identified with it and it has now become your vibration. So the second thing that happens is, and we all do this regardless of our empathic or sensitive natures, we project. So what I mean by projecting is we have our own feeling state this is actually kind of step 2, that this is a pitfall for empaths and highly sensitive people. Often after they recognize this about themselves, then they start doing this projecting thing. But you do it even before you understand it. So what happens is you've been sitting all on your own, experiencing your own negative thoughts and emotions. And then you go out into the world or you're sitting in your room even, and you go, well, this isn't mine. And you blame it on other people. But the fact of the matter is, by the time you've identified with it anyway, it is yours. So you just deal with it like it's your own. But we do go and it interferes with our interactions with others because then we assume, we're making assumptions and we're projecting onto them and we're having expectations of them. So I just want you to be aware of that function as well, that pitfall. All right, so that's what it is. That's what highly sensitive empath is. You may identify with some of those qualities sometimes. That's great. Just, put a pin in it and understand. And now I'm going to tell you what happened, how you got there. How you got to this tendency / malfunction. Because even when you're healed, you're going to be peeling that onion and you're going to find new ways that it shows up. Like for me, I had really overcome a lot of that negative function of my empathic nature, and then new subtleties showed up where I had some very subtle codependence, where my husband was having some challenge emotion, and he was dealing with it emotionally, and I asked him if he needed my support, and if he wanted to talk, and he said no, and I said great, and I respect that, but I didn't respect it deeply. I kept like a pin in it, and I was holding on, and I was like, okay. He said no, but subtly. But I could feel it because I was more aware of myself now that I've been spending time in my own vibration. And then I was like, oh, that's some subtle kind of codependence. And I'm not actually helping him even by keeping my finger in that thing he said he doesn't want to talk about, he doesn't want to share with me right now. I'm not even helping him. It's not like I'm taking some of that from him. He needs it anyway. He needs to figure out what he's going through. And he needs those emotions that he's feeling in order to observe it. So I found a new layer, and I recognized it because I understand that empath tendency when it's going wrong. All right, so this is how we got here. What happened was when we were, like I say, we were very young, we're growing up, we felt that things were unsafe. And it could be because you had a very obviously imperfect, we'll just say, family situation, the activity around you, or it could have been almost ideal. We still perceived something that was unsafe. We still perceived, and it could have been also with other people that aren't your parents. But your parents aren't perfect. So no matter what, however good your parents are, they're still not pure consciousness, and they're doing the best they can. So we perceive danger, and we come into this plane with highly sensitive natures, and then we start to focus on survival because we perceive danger. And we perceive that the people who are meant to take care of us can't. So it must be me. I must be doing something about this. So we actually start to focus on the lower chakras in the chakra system. And now you don't have to be an expert in the chakra system to understand this. Jarvis, find Abraham Maslow's Pyramid of Self-Actualization, if you don't mind, and he'll pop it up on the screen. If you are listening to this, I'll explain it to you. Maslow's Pyramid of Self-Actualization is very similar to the chakra system. So we have on the lower chakra, on the lower level, which the chakra is actually at the base of the spine. It's called the root chakra, and that is your basic survival instincts. And then we have above that, we have like the emotional nature, the being able to deal with our own emotional state and relating to others. Is kind of the beginning. It's like the 2D reality, the two-dimensional reality, and then the above that we have what we call the solar plexus chakra. And that is our self-identity, but it's also dealing with the 3D reality, and it's really dealing with my relationship with others, my relationship with myself as well, because we experience ourselves almost as two people, don't we? My relationship with myself. I mean, you didn't even pause when I said that, my relationship with myself, but there are two subjects in that sentence, and they're the same one. So anyway, what we do is those are all dealing with staying physically alive, and then we overemphasize that. And then it's basically like the chakras are, like I say, we're spinning. They're like wheels that they're managing energy inflow and output, and they're spinning one particular way, but then we almost start to spin them the wrong way. Now, I'm being metaphorical because they actually, as they spin one way to receive and another way to release, and that's normal. But I'm using it as like, we start to turn them inside on themselves, and we start to put so much emphasis on that survival that it becomes the voice of the lower mind. The lower mind is that one that is anxiety, that one that is fear, that one that is self-critical, self-judging, also judging of others, fearful about how I got here and where I'm going. It's the non-present mind. And I actually even feel it like low in my headspace even. It feels lower. It's interesting. So that lower mind is the voice of these chakras being overemphasized, these ones that are survival instincts, or the ego, of course. Yes, it is the ego. It is the extension, the part of the ego that is what we don't need, the part that isn't actually serving us, because the ego does serve us at its core to keep us physically alive, and it's concerned about that, but we attach so many things onto what that means. How we stay alive. It means that if someone, let's talk about maybe some junior high stuff, remember in junior high, if you had a pimple, you panicked. You would panic in your body and you were humiliated. I love words like slut or snob, those words in junior high that your world falls apart and your body reacts as though you're running from a lion. See, that's how those survival, those lower functions of survival have now become the voice in the mind, the predominant voice in the mind. And so that voice, that lower mind voice, is always looking for the next thing to avoid. But when you're looking for something to avoid, you're creating the something to avoid. You're creating that reality. And so that's what's going on with those empathic functions that are making you feel like you're a victim. And now you're at the place, as you get older, you feel like it's happening to me, when actually you have millions of little tentacles out there and you're trying to find it and you're actually reaching out for it and you're bringing it into your experience. But it feels like it's just happening to you. But that's because you aren't aware of the subtle functioning that's going on. So what we want to do, what happens is, what happens is basically the lower chakras get hijacked and they're overemphasized, and then they just take over the whole system. That lower mind is the one that's going crazy. So just to sum that up, that voice becomes the dominant voice in your feeling space and in your experience. But the higher mind is actually the instrument that is capable of creating into your reality the things that you want. The higher mind is capable of selecting the potential reality that already exists, the one where you are abundant, and to just bring it into the truth, into manifestation, into physical form for you. The higher mind is capable of that. The higher mind is capable of being present in the now, relaxing, and just knowing that everything is working out for me. So you feel that too, you sensitive people. You're like, I know that's there. I feel it sometimes, but then my life, it is representative of this. And I don't know how to feel that all the time, because it feels dangerous to feel, this is the lower mind tells you it's dangerous to be up there because you're loody-doo and you're not paying attention to the fact that you can't pay your rent this month. and you're not afraid of it. If you're not afraid enough of it, then then you won't know to not do it again. Isn't that weird? That's even a hard sentence to say, but that is what the lower mind is saying to you. If you're not more afraid of it, then you're going to accidentally create it again, and that's actually a lie. The fact is, popping up into that higher mind and staying there is where you're going to be able to bring into your experience the freedom of being able to not just pay your rent every month. That's just the first thing we're going to do, but also manifest your ideal way of living, your ideal lifestyle. So you're always creating. Absolutely everything you are creating. And by the way, I'm getting close to taking calls, so feel free to call in if you like, 323-524-2599. If you have any questions or you want a little reading or something like that, 323-524-2599. So you are always creating. Everything in your experience you have created. And so it really just comes down to, which voice do you want to be behind the wheel? Do you want it to be that lower mind that is overly emphasizing survival functions by being afraid of whether or not you're going to survive? Or do you want it to be the higher mind that is capable of seeing down the road to the point where you don't even have to think about survival? You just know and you expect beauty and love to continue to flow into your experience because you see the evidences of it. And the difference there is, well, I'll tell you this, the higher mind is a thinking function, but above that, before it becomes a thinking function, it's really a feeling function. The higher mind, when you take 3 conscious breaths, and maybe if you love nature and you're sitting in nature, or you're sitting with an animal or someone that you love, and then you just pop up into that feeling space, you know that connection with the universe. You know love. You can I think about love, think about a kitten, think about someone or something that you love, and then you release it, and then you just feel. That's the higher mind function. It's actually a feeling function. That becomes a thought. Thought is actually a creation of feeling. So we say thoughts become things. Yes, that's true. But before the thought has become, there's the feeling. And that, again, is your vibration. That, again, is your frequency, like the radio signal that you're sending out from your tower of your being is your emotional state, because it is that subtle. So how do we do it? Well, mind training, because those thoughts that are compulsively happening from the lower mind, they've created neural pathways in your brain, and they've become physical. And so that's why it feels like you can't get up off the couch. But the truth is that if we continue to focus upon that feeling state, it actually starts to create those thoughts that form new neural pathways. So one simple answer is yes, meditation, because meditation and that kind of devotion, it gets you to interrupt those thoughts, that lower mind, and release it and put down that lower mind like it's a hammer that you're carrying around all the time, and your arm is aching and hurting and it's not helping you and you don't need it right now. Put it down. And that's what you can do in your meditative state. And the thing about meditation and devotion and all of that stuff is that it gets us accustomed to our own feeling space, to ourself, so that if we're empathic, we know that something is coming toward us that isn't ours, and we don't have to identify with it. Instead of identifying with it, then we can use that as an ability to extend love and compassion, so that we don't actually identify with it as something that is hurting us, something that has caused us heartache and caused us pain. So yes, sometimes we do need teachers, and sometimes we need to be on our own, but because teachers really are teaching you how to be on your own. And so that's something, if you want to be, I'm just going to say it again before I get to the calls, if you are wanting to invest your time as well as as well as some finances, and to really commit from the place that you are to make your passion your profession, reach out to me and ask me about my mentoring program. However you can find me, y'all know how to find me. All right, so we have some calls, and I'm going to go ahead and welcome a caller. Well, I lost my book. Oh, well. Hello, you're on the air. Who's this? Hello? You're on the air? All right. Should we move on to another one? We'll try to come back to you. Hang on. If it's you. Okay.
Hello?
There's someone. Hi, who's this?
This is Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. Where are you calling from?
Hi. From the Denver area.
Awesome. Great. And what's going on with you today?
Well, I really identify with the topic, so when I saw it, I called in.
Oh, good.
I've watched your show before. We have a mutual friend, and when I read the book on HSPs, it completely changed my life. It was like, oh, I can actually take care of myself. I can respect my sensitivity. And when you brought up the topic of highly sensitive person and abundance, I immediately thought, because of my experience, well, how do I be successful? Because I'm so sensitive, just environmentally, sensitive to noise or light or too much stimulation or crowds, just picking up a bunch of stuff when I'm in a crowd. So, I don't know if it's exactly in what the topic is you're discussing,
it's
which
exactly
I love what you've been talking about. But
yeah, well, it's exactly it. Can I ask you first what that HSP book was? Because I do actually, someone just asked me like 2 days ago. So what is the HSP book that helped you so much?
Let me look it up. It was actually, I think it's the woman who coined the phrase.
Okay, Elaine
or whatever
Aron.
You want to call it.
Dr. Elaine Aron.
Yeah.
Jarvis will look it up for us. Elaine Aron, Aron is her last name. Elaine is her first name. So Jarvis is going to look it up. Thanks, Jarvis.
It was literally called The Highly Sensitive Person.
Oh, okay. There we go. That's easy to remember. I've read parts of it. Maybe I did actually read this book. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the cover of it now as Jarvis pulls it up. I think I did read this book. I didn't realize because it was so early on in my understanding of it. But thank you for reminding me that there is a book. So so tell me then, you already have a career that you've selected, and you feel as though the path that you're on requires of you to be in situations that are overstimulating for you. Is that right?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. I have sort of many different career paths at the same time. So I'm looking at you, and it doesn't match the sound in my headphones from my phone, so I'm a little disoriented. But I started out as an actor, and then I became a filmmaker. But I'm also really psychic and extremely sensitive. But I can't do psychic on demand all the time, so I don't know if that's the direction I want to go in. Although I think about it a lot.
Yeah. Does it excite you?
Yeah, like.
Which one excites you? Like right now, which one of those things just makes you go like, oh, wouldn't that be cool?
It's a lot of like different aspects of all of them. I think talking to people one-on-one is really fun for me. Like helping people sort out their stuff really is fun for me. But at the same time, I'm super creative, and I write, and I actually directed a feature film that I also acted in, and I used to just get so high off of performing, like doing comedy and doing acting. So
I feel like, except for the filmmaking, I feel like you're telling me about my life because I was an actor too. And by the way, so let me tell you that doing this work, doing intuitive work, is completely artistic. It's 100% creative. This is why, I don't know if you noticed on my website, I call myself a healing artist, because as I started to open up to my intuitive psychic gifts, and I realized, oh, wait, this is just like acting. And when I was acting before, I was just channeling. You know what I mean? Like, it's no different. It's the same process. As a creative person, my husband's a musician, so he sits down and he needs to write a melody. He sits there and he just kind of stops thinking and he starts feeling, opens up his higher mind feeling state, and then from nowhere comes something, from nowhere, from somewhere else or whatever, comes a melody. That's creative, and that's exactly what the process of being of doing psychic work with someone one-on-one is. You sit down with them and you do the same thing that you do when you're going to sit down and write. What do you do when you're going to write, for example, or when you're going to act? You clear your space, right? In your inner space, you clear your mind, and then you just wait, right? I mean, of course, you have skill as well. You've practiced it, so you know how to get there, and you know how to prick that flow. You know how to prick that where the nectar comes out. It's the same thing with psychic stuff. So I would maybe we should have a phone call and just talk about this a little bit, because if that, and I'll tell you, this is what's interesting for me. I used to, when I kind of came in more in empowerment, I thought maybe I should go check out acting again. But it turned out I actually wasn't interested in it anymore. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that was the expression that I had at the time. And highly sensitive people, empaths, are very creative. Because again, you know why? When I was talking about those lower chakras, the sacral chakra is the seat of your creativity as well as the seat of your emotions. And sometimes we overemphasize that function so much that we have so many creative ideas that we can't do any of them. How do you feel about that? Does that relate to that?
Acting also, well, for me, acting has been so difficult because of all the rejection involved, quite frankly, or just all the, like, for voiceover, I'm always doing spec auditions, and it's so draining.
It's not fun. You're like, I don't want that part of it.
Like,
yeah,
it's not like I'm being embraced, so it's just like, woo, I got all this energy because everybody loves what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that way when I'm actually performing, but man, auditioning and just the quality of the stuff you audition for, so much of it is garbage. But yeah, like my great uncle was Eli Wallach, who's a pretty famous actor who passed away recently. And
I'm sorry.
I mean, he's considered like a legend. So I grew up thinking acting is something that you can actually do and do at a creative level. And then I, grew up and I realized it's a hustle, and you're just memorizing a bunch of really mediocre material in order to audition.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't break through, and I was too sensitive. I would just have so much anxiety with auditioning.
Right. Yeah. And I even
it's not exciting to me to think about.
It's not exciting to you, but the working with people one-on-one and helping them is very exciting to you right now. Yeah, I think we should talk about this because, trust me, this is the truth. I like to say, I often say, I don't know everything and I don't claim it, but I'm going to tell you, this is the truth. If you can dream it and your heart feels that excitement about it, then you're meant to create it. And besides that, not only are you meant to create it, but it is what we need from you too, because this is an ecosystem. We are not in nature. We are nature. So a garden needs a flower to grow its healthiest and most vibrant and give off the most pollen and all that kind of stuff. And we need that from you too. And we need you to pursue the thing. And sometimes when when we're multi-potential like you are, sometimes we just pick one and we start moving with it. And that's great because then we are starting to express ourselves, and because we can always change, we can always do something different. And you might be a person who wants to do things, different things all the time, to pursue something with absolutely everything in your heart, and then to change directions in a year or two or whatever. But to keep pursuing, the tree. Just think of a tree. What its life, how it looks different, and it expresses different things as it continues to grow. That's what it's supposed to do. A yearling looks entirely different than a tree that's 25 years old. You wouldn't know they're the same tree, and they're not. And we are meant to do that as well. And so we need you to do it. We need you to pursue that excitement. And you can do it. You can do it because that feeling and that excitement that you have is the formula for it. Is you are meant to pursue that. That is the information inside, like the seed, the information in the seed that causes it to break through its shell and find its way up through the soil and the rocks and burst through. That's your information, is that excitement and that desire. Will you reach out to me, Catherine? I want to continue talking to you.
Yeah,
and I'm going to be in Denver.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to be in Denver in October for actually a retreat with the Lightworkers Lab. I don't know if you've heard me talk about that. You should probably join the Lightworkers Lab. It's a Facebook community. Go check it out.
Okay.
Reach out to me, okay?
I will,
However you're finding me right now, you should be able to reach out to me, and I would love to talk to you about this more.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tricia.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you.
You too.
All right. We have another caller. Oh, we have a lot of calls. I'll try to get to you all, but let me just tell you, if you're on hold and I don't get to you, that Spirit is organizing the information to serve us all. All right? All right. You're on the air. Who's this?
My name is Iris.
Iris?
Yes.
You're a little... There you go. I think you probably got closer. Hi, Iris. Where are you calling from? That's okay. I can hear you good now. Thanks. Where are you calling from?
I'm from Arizona.
Oh, great. I'm actually going to be in Arizona in like 3 weeks. I'm just, all of the trips I'm taking. I know, right? Well, what's going on with you today?
I was just wondering, I guess, I like to go by like birthday years, not by like, the year, like 2017. So I'm just wondering, what do you see for me as far as growth for my birthday year? I just turned on June 6th, so I'm just wondering what you see. I've heard of a lot of changes. I feel like I need to make some career changes, and a little hesitant on whether to actually move out of state.
I see. Well, happy birthday. And I have just a few minutes left on the show, so I'm sorry to make your call so quick. I see that you're looking to, it feels like the way it feels to me is breakthrough. Like you feel a bit trapped with the work that you're doing, and you feel like, so does it feel like you're trapped and you don't know how to break through? Does that language resonate with what it feels like to you? Like even you, it's almost like I just have this picture, like a metaphor of you wanting to use your fist to break through the ceiling, or like there's a hatch that you're stuck in and you want to break it open with your fist, and you just are like, when do I do it? And it feels like so tricky about what the right timing is, because you're like, if I do it too soon and I don't do it all the way, that it's almost like you just have anxiety about making a step forward, and you feel like you're going to just hurt yourself if you try to break through from this trap that you feel like you're in. Yeah?
Yes.
So I feel like you can, the choice is, so far as me giving you what's going to happen, so far as future readings and fortune telling, I just want you to know that it's 100% in your control. If I do a snapshot of the timeline of the energy right now, I'm reading where you are right now, but I want you to feel encouraged that you can change that. And you could start by changing your feeling state. So I feel like right now it looks like you are gaining the courage, and you're giving you, what's good is for you to give yourself the grace that you are gaining the courage, and give yourself grace of being able to do that breaking through. And if you can orient yourself to the fact that it actually isn't going to be as dramatic as all that of breaking something like a hatch with your hands. It doesn't have to be that. It can be you being very calm and figuring out how to unlock the door for yourself, because you actually have the key. And if you can focus on that and that expectation, it's going to go smoothly for you. But I do feel like giving yourself some grace, because if you give yourself the space of like a couple of months to orient yourself in a better way, rather than it feeling like that choked up, scared, anxious, I don't know if I should do this. Give yourself the grace and the space to change your feeling and your approach to it. It does feel, since you're asking for some time, it feels like if you give yourself 6 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks to just be okay with where you are, and approach it with a good attitude, and just finding a way to be a light and be a joy, and then just know that you're moving forward as well. You're moving forward in your inner space before you move forward in your outer space. So give yourself that grace. And then being able to do that, it does feel like you're going to gain some real like courage, and you're going to make a powerful step in about 6 months. Okay? This is a snapshot of the energy right now, and I'm actually moving your energy too a little bit with my intention by giving you the intention to move forward. But you can always, don't sit back, because you can always expedite that. You can make it 2 weeks and 6 weeks for those different timelines that I just gave you. It's possible. So I'm helping you with moving my intention into yours to give you some encouragement. But right now the word is grace. so that you can change your inner space, okay? And I feel like you also want to create, you want to get to something that is more creative and more expressive of your passions, right? Yeah.
Yes, I do. And then, the other issue is my husband's like pressing to move, out of state. And I'm just a little reluctant because I won't have, support as far as family goes, with my little one. So I'm a little reluctant. Not that I couldn't do it, but
yeah, I think that one's going to be a bit of a compromise. It does feel like, I'm sorry, I have just 1 minute, so I'll just tell you right now, my snapshot of it feels like that you guys probably will move, and that but you're going to be able to find a comfortable way to do it, and that maybe it'll actually be a really good challenge. If you could welcome it like a challenge that is giving you a lesson, that's what it feels like to me. But it's going to be a compromise. It's not just it's going to go exactly the way he's designing it. It's going to go a way that you're both designing it. All right. I'm so sorry I have to sign off with you, Iris, but thank you so much for calling, and do check back with me again. Call me again next week if you like. All right.
I will.
All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. And bye now. To the others who called in, I'm sorry I didn't get to you, but we had a lot to learn and to experience together. And thank you, Catherine and Iris, for calling. Please do know that if you didn't get to speak with me individually, Spirit still worked out, the universe still worked out the message to serve us all in some way or another. So that is our show today. Do please join me again next week at 11 a.m. Pacific on ubnradio.com or on any of my Facebook or Twitter outlets. I'm Tricia Carr. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.